Thank you, Annie. I'm going to
Yep.
take this next section here and talk a little bit about data-driven communications. We know, right, that 80% of members prefer digital communications and to be able to interact, but we also know that that's not the actual reality of how many are communicated by digital communications, right? Because of the challenges is that you've got to have the valid information. Right? That is absolutely probably the biggest challenge is being able to get and receive permission and opt-ins in order to be able to reach out via email. While there's a disconnect here because they want to be able to be people want to be communicated by digital and through email, and yet the actual reality is the number that we actually communicate through digital and through email is a lot smaller. And so how can we really bridge that gap? So if we go on to the next slide. Right, so some of the things that we're doing, capturing preferences is critical. You all know that you've got to be able to actually get their email and have them opt in to say how they want to be communicated and what they want to be communicated to via email, because it may not be everything. Right, so being able to have a preference portal or a preference option to be able to have them opt in is really critical. But then it's using it in an intelligent way, right? So then consistently being able to reach out and to communicate with what types of correspondence that they want via email. So it's critical, like their core communications, that you really prioritize which of those touch points that they receive and when via that whole digital experience. So there's multiple ways. There's not just email. I mean, email is a great way to be able to communicate to an individual, to tell them, provide them with information, to point them to their portal, that let them know that their ID card is available, that their EOB is available, right? The regulatory communications, but it's also too, sometimes that also needs to be reinforced with other modes of communication. So while that digital experience is critical, it's also important to be able to switch between, right, different types of communications for them. So some people will want certain communications like their ID card, and they may want that reminder via email, but they may want their EOBs going via mail, right? It just one preference doesn't fit all needs for even a member. And so there's also that next best action reminder. So we're going to talk a little bit later on in this presentation about program design, but I really want to emphasize that you leverage not only the digital communications that you can, but leverage the communications that you're sending out in a way to be able to drive what a next action is. You don't just look at it as I'm checking off the box that I've sent my ID card and the member guide. Really look at how we can utilize and customize that experience to be able to remind an individual of what's the next action that you want to be able to take. And that may just be a reminder via email. So it is a combination. You have to be able to have the digital capabilities. You got to be able to gather the preferences, but you got to be flexible enough to where you can shift between different modes of communication based upon how that member wants to receive it and when. So if we go to the next slide, it's just an illustrative journey, right, of an Medicare member, and really leveraging, for example, you're already sending out an ID card and a welcome letter, right? So how can you use that real estate, right, to be able to reinforce what's next for Amelia? Maybe she's already registered on the portal. So don't just send everyone a portal registration when you already know certain people are registered, right? And then use inter intermingle with those core communications reminders via the methods of which you've captured their preference and how they want to be communicated with a text. Use your caller for your gaps in care, your caller cancel screening, being able to time that of when the delivery is going to go out, how many days you're going to wait in between so that you're not causing abrasion for that member. So our platform really supports those different reminders with email and text that are kind of woven into the overall journey of all the core communications that are sent out. So there are a lot of communications that you send, and what we're really saying is combine together the communications and leverage them for what the priority is of what you want an individual to do, and then ensure that it's in the multi-channel approach that meets all the members' needs to drive that overall engagement.